Welcome to the Tarot Coven cast. Real people, real talk, real magic. Hello out there, lovely listeners, and welcome to the Tarot Coven cast. I'm one of your hosts, Jasmine.
I'm Jekanovia.
And I'm Jessie.
And we are so excited to welcome and introduce the one and only Danielle Luet, aka A Witch Alone on Instagram. Danielle is a practicing witch and tarot reader, a podcaster, a business owner, a Witchy Award winner, and an international best-selling author. And if that isn't enough, she's also a super cool human who has one of the fluffiest cats we have ever seen, named Saffron. What a great name. Welcome to the show, Danielle. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me. That was probably the best introduction I will ever get.
Oh, well, all props go to Jekanovia. She wrote that out for me. So
It's a very well-deserved intro.
I was singing my praises there, girl. Goodness.
Well, it's all the truth, right? So anyways, Danielle, how are you? How has 2020 been treating you?
I feel kind of bad saying that not that bad, considering that 2020 is a mess.
Yeah.
But no, I think it's been good. It really gave me a lot of time to kind of figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. As oh, I want to be this when I grow up. No, I'm almost 30, and I've just discovered what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. So that's nice. It's given me time. I was already on mat leave when all of this started, so it was good. It's hasn't been as awful as it's been for everybody else. So
yeah. Oh, well, but I think everyone's had differing parts of the year. Some parts I'm sure have been, more down than others. But yeah, I think we've all had this chance to see, I don't know, just a different side of things. And I think we've all found something to be grateful for in the chaos,
Mm-hmm, yeah. There's definitely been some positives that have come out of it for a lot of people that I personally know. A lot of crappy stuff, like not being able to see family, but small price to pay.
I think so. Yeah. And in terms of figuring out what you want to do for the rest of your life, I turned 33 this year, and I'm still high school was yesterday, right? I'm still good. I'm still coasting. Yeah. So I think that's totally fair.
Yeah. I don't listen to any of the music from nowadays. I only ever listen to the high school hits because that's all I want to listen to.
Oh my God. I don't know if you use Spotify, but I just did the Spotify Wrapped 2020 thing. And the third most popular artist for me this year was the Spice Girls. So I think that says everything.
My decade that it sent me back to was the 2000s. You listened to mostly the 2000s this year. And I was like, yes, I have. You're right.
Oh, mine was the 1970s. So
see, I share my Spotify with teenagers, so mine's not that cool.
Yeah. Gotcha. You've got the overlap there on the account. So
Mine's shameful.
I'm sure it's not. Well, Danielle, we have so much to chat with you about, but we did want to get started with some icebreaker questions. So let's dive right in with those. First, can you tell us just a little bit about who you are and how you found your way to tarot and witchcraft?
Okay, well, witchcraft would be like everybody else in the late 90s, early 2000s. I was obsessed with Harry Potter. I'm obsessed with Harry Potter. I'm still obsessed with Harry Potter. So that's kind of the introduction into, oh my God, there's this secret society on the other side of the veil or something that I can go to practice witchcraft. And then I came across an idiot's guide to Wicca and witchcraft in a secondhand bookstore. And I was like, this is it. I'm going to open this and it's going to have my ticket to Hogwarts. And it did not. But it did give me something that I connected with a little bit better. And my aunt bought me that book. And then she actually gave me my first tarot deck, probably like within the first year of me beginning to practice. And I hated it. I hated it. I don't know.
What deck was it?
I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even tell you what the deck was. It was like 15 years ago that she gave me this deck. And I now know that I don't connect very well with decks with people on them. I'm more of a like an object or like a landscape type of or animal type of reader. So this was all people, and I didn't really like the art, and I was like, God, I don't really like this. So I never used it. I ended up actually like burning it because I didn't know like how else to get rid of it.
Yeah.
I was like I have no one else to give it to. I don't just want to throw it in the recycling. I was like, I'll just burn it in my little cauldron, one card at a time. So like an hour and a half later. Yeah. And then I had a friend who's actually a second generation card reader, and she read my cards in my late teens. And in a few years, it really occurred to me that it was so spot on. And then I sort of started picking it up like 5 years ago. And then I was gifted a deck as a wedding present, the Wild Unknown. I really, really wanted it. And that was when I really started to like connect. And I was like, oh, like I'm very much into this. And I pretty much haven't stopped. My husband is always like, do you really need another deck?
Yes.
Do you need another deck? And I was like, yes. Yes,
the answer is always yes.
The answer is always yes. I was like, I could be spending my money on drugs or alcohol, or I could be spending it on abusive decks of cards. So that would be that.
What a journey.
Yeah, I love that. Journey. I mean, really quickly before we go into the next question, I just am curious, do you have, besides the Wild Unknown, are there a couple of decks that you use quite a bit, or do you have any suggestions for people that might be kind of feeling the same way as you, or that are not identifying with those, people decks?
I really liked the first deck that I was really able to read very well was the Black Cats Tarot. And it was very simple in its symbolism, and it was all cat related. So obviously if you don't like cats, I wouldn't suggest it, but it was the backgrounds weren't too busy. They were very simple. Like all the pictures are very simple. So that was there. That's that one. That I have both the Wild Unknown Tarot and the Spirit Animal. They're my top three. There's the ones that I have used all the time. And I just started like with the Astro Soul deck, but it's been kind of confusing to get into because it is astrological, right? Like it's not just like elements or symbols. It's like these are like the planets and the houses, and it can be pretty confusing, but it is also very simple. So which is kind of an oxymoron, I guess. The art is simple.
Yes.
I should say. But the Wild Unknown would be my top ones to suggest, because the art is beautiful, but it's not too busy in it.
Yeah, know what you mean for sure.
That's true. I do love that deck myself.
Mm-hmm.
Well, talking about tarot cards, what is your favorite tarot card?
My all-time favorite tarot card is the Six of Wands. My follow-up favorites would be the Moon, Wheel of Fortune, and the Eight of Pentacles.
So why the Six of Wands?
I just really like that coming out of the dark type of vibe, like coming up and out and kind of leaving everything. Like there's always something that you're leaving behind as you're growing, I guess. Like, because I feel like it's kind of a card that is constant. Like you're never just in the light or in the clear or whatever. Like there's always something that you should be growing and like leaving behind. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah,
I love that
take.
I love that take. It's like that fire of transformation energy.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
So good. Okay, so along with all that you do, I'm wondering, what are some other of your favorite practices?
Well, I really like writing, but not just like the journals. I do have a manuscript just sitting on the computer of fantasy fiction, nonfiction, fiction, fantasy
world. Gosh, that's
exciting. That I maybe one day will release to the world. I would love to release it to the world, but every time I go back to it, I was, oh God, I think I'm just going to change the whole thing all over again. I've rewritten it, I think 3 times now. And when I do get time, I really like to watercolor paint, even though I'm not very good at it. It's very soothing.
You know, I watercolor as well. And it's kind of my little first foray into painting because it's almost like you don't need, the full canvas and it's pretty minimal as far as cleanup. And it's one of those things that it does take practice, but I love that you can manipulate, I don't know, just the way that watercolors are. That's really cool. And it's funny, this whole week, I'm like, I should get my watercolors out. It's literally been months since I've done that. There's something it really does just put your brain on hold. Like you can just get lost in it. I'm not sure. I'm sure that's, what experience too, but very cool. Didn't realize that. Well, thank you.
Yeah, I love it.
All right. So the next question, it's a familiar one for our listeners. It's something that we asked each other in our very first episode. And then it's something that we want to ask our guests moving forward now. So Danielle, what does magic mean to you?
I think what magic means to me is like being incredibly honest. Like you can't work with energies around you if you're dishonest about it. Like you can't be like, oh yeah, I'm going to like tap into the earth energy to be stable, which is like such a ground level correspondence, but like to be stable and then go out and get super sloppy drunk, like it's, I feel like you have to be like really honest about who you are as a person, like what your intentions are, not just with your magic, but with your everyday life. Like if you have quote unquote flaws or things you don't like about yourself, like you should own that. You should be honest about it. Like, yeah, this is something that I have to work on. So I think magic is kind of like, you kind of need to be honest with yourself and then it will be honest with you, kind of thing, kind of like a give and exchange. Like it's, I don't know if that answers the question properly.
Yeah, of course it does.
Of course, there's no wrong answer, really. I'm chewing on that in my mind. Like there's so much, authenticity and that really, like you were saying, just that base energy of, just being who you are, knowing who you are.
It really has been like, it has been an eye opener and it has made me be so honest with so many different things in myself and in my life. So that it's kind of like, and like being able to open myself up to things that I maybe wouldn't have before. So I'm a more balanced person. I can be more honest with myself, and it's kind of like a mirror because like you can only see what you give out, kind of thing.
Yeah. I really love this answer. Jekanovia, it's like you said, there's so much to chew on there. I'm going to be thinking about this for a while because there's something like, I don't know, it's making me think of like, and I'm not trying to like hate on anyone or like diss anyone or whatever, but there's like a lot of superficiality in the world of witchcraft. And it feels like this is pushing yourself to go deeper and not just like put a candle out on your desk because it looks cute. It's like, what do you actually, I don't know. It's just, I really like how deep you are pushing yourself and I think inspiring others to go as well. It's a really cool answer.
Talk.
Yeah.
Right.
Like if you're going to put a candle out on your desk because it looks cute, you could be like, I put a candle out on my desk because it looks cute. Not like I put this candle out because it speaks to me on a spiritual level. Like, does it though? Or are you just, or are you just saying that?
Yeah.
What does it say?
No, I really like that. And it's actually making me, think about certain things because I think there's stuff that I have, like I'm looking around sort of my office right now and I'm like, yeah, I do have that out because it's cute. Whereas that part of my office or whatever, like though that's really meaningful. But I just think that like being honest about that is super important. So I love that you have said this. That's, so chewy. Love it.
It is. Yum. Okay. Well, see, now the next question, it doesn't quite go so deep, but what's your favorite TV show or film or both?
Hey, that's deep for me.
That's, you know what? That's true. That's part of Jasmine's, her magic.
Okay. So stereotypically, my favorite movie of all time would be Practical Magic.
Nice.
And then the follow-ups are Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban is my favorite of the 8 Harry Potters. And then it's got to be Frozen 2.
Oh, yes. I saw a couple of your posts recently that were all about Frozen, which was super cool.
I can't even, like, people would probably ask you, oh, like, do you watch it because of your kid? And I was like, I mean, she's a good excuse, but I probably would have watched, I'm pretty sure I watched Moana like 15 times in a row when it first came out. I wasn't even married yet. So, and then I have probably my favorite TV shows, because I can't just pick one, would be actually Supernatural's at the top, and then True Blood, and then Scrubs, and then Grey's Anatomy.
Oh, so, interesting. True Blood. Yeah. It's been so long since I've seen an episode of that.
Yeah.
That was a fun show, though. And Jackanovia, don't you love Supernatural?
Yes, that's one of the very few TV shows I know and I've watched. But I refuse to watch the final season because they said they're going to die, and I refuse to watch that. I won't do it.
Well, I watched the final season. You should watch it.
Is it going to rip my heart out, though? That's the problem.
I'll quote that it will, but it's also very satisfying.
Okay, I'll consider it.
It's a very good wrap up episode. Like, it's a very good wrap up season. You will still cry. I cried, but it was very sad. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm satisfied with this ending.
Well, I mean, it's a long Canadian winter coming, so I'm probably going to be looking for something to pass the time. So.
Sometimes that's just the cost of loving a TV show, you know? You gotta say goodbye. And
yeah, I guess I have the habit, though. I won't watch the final season of anything because then in my mind I can be like, it never ends.
I have that issue. I have that completion issue. I like get to almost the end of something, whether it's like a show or like I play video games, and I'm like, I'm not doing the last bit. I'm just gonna leave it. And then it sits there for like months or years.
Man, I could not do that.
I do it with books. Yep.
This is hilarious. This is like a completely new subculture for me with television that I didn't know existed, of people just not watching.
Well, that's the thing, because if you don't finish it, you can kind of make up the ending to whatever you wanted in your mind and your imagination. Yeah. You can have 1,000 different endings.
You can have your own fan fiction.
Ignorance is bliss.
Yep. See?
That is hilarious.
But those are.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say those are very good shows, I'm sure, but I only knew one of them.
I know. Jackanovia and I are not really the TV watchers. Although I will say I was inspired by our earlier conversation. I had never seen Practical Magic. I know that's weird, but I don't really watch movies or TVs anyway. So I watched it this year and I loved it. It was like the best movie. So I'm right there with you.
Oh, that's fun. I didn't know you hadn't seen it. That's amazing.
I know. It seems crazy. There's a lot of movies that, yeah, you'd think I would have seen, like, I've never seen E.T. People are like, what? You've never seen E.T.? And I'm like, no, I even grew up in the 70s and 80s. I did not see E.T., but I just didn't watch movies. It's this weird thing, but my husband has seen everything. So he just thinks I'm ridiculous.
It's not that weird. I have a few friends. I have one friend that has never seen a Disney movie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
That's blasphemy.
Yeah. We'll be 30 next year. And she was just like, yeah, my parents just never put them on. And I was like, I'm sorry. How did we never watch a Disney movie when we hung out? What? Oh, but all right. So you're too busy doing other things.
That one does
they
strike
come
me.
when they are supposed to.
So. True.
He may break down at some point. Especially if he has kids. Those might circle back around.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So moving on, but still in the entertainment genre. Okay. So I want you to give our listeners a little I always like to keep this fun. So it's like, I want the favorite song, but it could be now, it could be like when, way back in the past. And this could be the song that's like your anthem. It could be the song that just always like means something to you. Maybe it's like the one you put on when you're needing to just dance it off. So what do you got for us?
Oh my God, I could give you a song for every single one of those categories. Yes. You should have sent me the categories so I could just rhyme them up. Okay, well, going along with my Frozen 2, the current songs that I have on repeat would have to be Into the Unknown and Show Yourself.
Okay.
Just Show Yourself makes me want to cry every time. God. But the songs that I guess never get sick of is This Love by Maroon 5. And Bad Day by Danielle Powder.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
yeah.
Yes.
I forgot about that song.
So did I, actually. Yeah.
For some reason, I will never forget this, and I don't know why. It was the #1 song in 2006.
Huh.
I don't know why I know that.
Didn't he like perform it on American Idol or something?
Oh God, that I don't know.
So I feel like he performed it on American Idol or some show like that. And maybe it was that year. So maybe it got really big because of that performance or whatever.
Yeah, maybe.
But so funny.
Hard to
All
believe that was
right.
14 years ago. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. No. It
Oh,
was
why did you
yesterday.
say that?
See, and Danielle, that's what I was talking about before. No, that's what I was talking about earlier when we just started the recording, thinking about how high school was just yesterday. Like, that's the year I graduated high school. So I was like, yeah, that was like a year ago when I graduated.
Wait, what year was that?
2006?
Ouch. Oh,
I know.
Move on.
Stop it. I'm the oldest. I'm the old lady
hang on a
here.
second, though. You guys aren't that much older than me, and I know this because I have your birth data, okay?
yeah, I know, but I remember that year vividly. And I mean, one of my kids was like born the following year. It's weird.
Well, if it makes you feel any better, I did go back for an extra year to get better grades, okay? So...
Oh, there's a little fun fact.
Little nerd over here.
OAC, right? Yes.
Yeah. Well, there wasn't OAC anymore. So I was like not ready to do anything. So I was like, no, I'll just go back and I'll just get better grades and higher marks. And yeah. All right. Well, Danielle, this was not on the list that we sent you. And if you don't want to answer it, it's totally cool. But I was interested in knowing if you're willing to share, what is your SMR? What's your big three? Sun, moon, rising.
Oh, I was like, what the heck is SMR? Oh, Lord. Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. My sun is a Taurus, my moon is Capricorn, and my rising is Scorpio.
Ooh, yes. Scorpio rising.
We're really close. We've got a different moon, but we share the sun and the rising together. That's fun.
Yeah, but you both got Earth moons too.
Hey.
Is there one of those that you identify with more?
I don't know. I am.
That's fair.
I am definitely the materialistic Taurus.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I had an unlimited credit card, I would probably never stop shopping. But I would say that I probably relate more to like my Capricorn moon.
Cool.
There are some Scorpio things that come out in me, but more the Cap, yeah.
All right. Well, awesome. Well, that was fun. That concludes the icebreaker segment.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you for joining us.
Slumber party questions complete.
Yes. Well, now that we've gotten to know you a little better, we would love to ask you some more in-depth questions. And the first actually is more associated with your professional tarot reading. And we were wondering how you approach them and, kind of what your process is.
So, like, what do I do, like, before I read or while I read?
Yeah, kind of like just how you come at it, what your intentions are, kind of what your specialties are even. Because I've had one of Danielle's readings. They're amazing. Little shout out.
Ooh, that's fun.
Thank you. You like stressed me out when you bought that reading, by the way. I was like, oh my God, this girl has like 20 decks. How am I gonna like, so that was a little bit of a stressor for me, but so I'm glad that you liked.
Oh my God.
I'm so sorry you felt that way.
Danielle.
I was fangirling.
Yes, but it was the same. I totally know that feeling. One day I like opened up my email and I saw that I had gotten a reading purchased by Jackanovia and I was like, oh shit, it's the big times.
Yeah, I feel like it's like a test. Like,
I would never test. No. I thoroughly enjoyed my readings from both of you. So yeah, when I recommend a reader, it's because I completely aligned with them. They were amazing and beautifully delivered. So
Aw.
yeah, I don't recommend things that I wouldn't want someone else to enjoy.
Yeah.
Well, and I really love the idea of tarot readers getting readings from other tarot readers. It is so insightful to have that dialogue and to just have the awareness of it. I mean, it can really be just a lot of information coming through when there's like those two brains that are so synced up in the story of it. So I love that you do that, Jackanovia, it's part of your self-care and what you do for yourself, and it supports the tarot community. So
yeah, it's cool.
I think it's probably a good idea anyway, because not everybody is going to connect with every tarot reader. So, if they're like, oh, like, I'm not sure, if you have a friend or something and they're like, I don't really know if I want like you to read my cards. Like, do you have someone that you could recommend me to? Like, it's good to probably have other people that can be like, I know, like, I've got readings by like these people, and
always good to have a network. Anyway, for sure.
Yeah, my process. Well, I can't like read for people over like Skype or anything like that. Mostly because I'm reading during my daughter's nap time, and
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, you make one noise and she's like, "Hello, I'm awake." So I've got each deck has its own incense that I've paired with it. So depending on the deck that the person has chosen, will depend on which one I pick out. And then obviously they have their own cloth, and then it's kind of just if they have an Instagram, a lot of people they'll buy the tarot reading, and then they'll message me over Instagram going, "Hey, I just bought tarot reading," which like on one hand is kind of like, you don't need to do that, it's okay, I got the email. But on the other hand, it's kind of nice because I can go to their page and I can kind of see their face, which helps me visualize. And then it's just whichever one they've bought, I kind of like repeat the spread name in my head. Like what's the month ahead gonna look like for Jackanovia? That would kind of be what I would do, and I would just do it over and over again, and then I would shuffle and pull how I would normally. And I guess I just read, and I usually type it out in an email, and I take a picture of it, and I send it along. And I don't know if I would say I have a specialty. Maybe I want to say like clarity spreads, but I feel like all tarot is like a clarity spread.
Yeah.
Maybe a specific clarity, like the month ahead or the year ahead, or like a very specific situation, or an unemotional clarity. Like those are two spreads that I do quite a bit. I don't like doing love spreads. I will not do like a couple spread. I won't do I can't stand that. I find it very hard to read, I guess is what I should say. I find it very very, very difficult to do, which is why I can't stand it. Like
to do readings centered around love.
Yeah. Or like a very specific relationships. Like I'm okay if it's like I have one love spread on my page, and it is more focused on self-love and like how do I attract love to me, or how do I like open myself to love or something like that. Like I'm okay with that. But I don't like the like, will my ex-boyfriend come back to me, or will my partner marry me, or are they cheating on me, or some of that stuff. I don't like meddling like that. No, thank you.
I get you.
Yeah, I've never been drawn to that kind of a reading either. I don't know. It's nice to hear that other readers aren't into it as well, because I was like, oh, am I being stuffy about it or something? But
oh no, I won't touch love readings with a 10-foot pole. There's a lot of codependency, and it just feels gross, and I just don't want to enable it.
Yeah.
Not that every love reading is that, but
no. But I like the way that you, Danielle, are saying like, self-love for sure, because I think that's super important, and that's a nice way to. I think I always, like, if people ask me questions about relationships, I'm always reframing it anyway into like, well, here's what you can do for yourself.
Yeah. And I would never, everybody, of course, wants a specific answer when they're getting their cards read, regardless of the spread. And I've heard of people getting some very nasty responses when they don't get the answers that they want. Like, you know what? I'm just gonna not.
Yeah. You want to hear what's actually saying? You want to hear what you want to hear? Yeah. Well, I mean, with my experience, with your reading, I would say that you are kind of, like a way shower. Like, it's like, okay, this is a situation, and, this is where the energy is directing, and this is what you can do with it, if you choose. It was really helpful, and it just kind of, it gave me a place to start from. So yeah, I would say way shower is the best way I could describe the reading that I got. Yeah.
I like that.
A beautiful testimonial.
Yeah.
Well, it's well deserved. Now, Danielle, do you do predictive tarot? Like, do you do like forecasting or anything like that?
Like outside of like the month ahead? Like, would that be considered?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I guess like when you're pulling cards, do you think that they are, I mean, in a way, how much are they showing us the future? How much are they just giving us opportunities? Like that kind of thing. Like some people are really pulling cards and using like timing techniques with them and stuff too, like, so cups would mean like months or something like that. I don't know if you are familiar with that,
okay.
but I mean, yeah, how much do you get into like the predictive side of things?
That kind of depends on the spread. There's a few that like I have created that is a very, like, they do have very futuristic spots. And I will read the court cards, like their zodiacs. So depending on where they fall, especially if it's like, oh, like, when is this going to come about, or like, when will this happen type of like question. If like one of the court cards comes up, it's like, okay, like this one is also associated with like this 4 weeks of the year. So it can happen. This can either be like a person specifically, or it could be like these specific 4 weeks that you're going to be looking at. So I guess that would be as much as the like forecasting would go. But for the most part, it's I would say most of my readings are in the present. They're kind of like, I would say they're more of the opportunity cards, like here's where you are now, and here are all the things that you could do to help along whatever you're trying to get or do.
Yeah. Nice.
Very cool.
I have a little question really quick. So do you happen to read with Lenormand Oracle?
I do not, because I saw
the way you were
cards
describing the court cards, it sounds very, because there's ways to do timing with the Lenormands. So I just wasn't sure if that was part of it too, but that's okay. Yeah.
I actually just did some further research on that deck for the tarot book, and I was like, I am confused even reading about this. Kudos to anybody that can read it, because it looked like a whole other language to me.
I can't read it either yet. I want to learn.
I know. I'm always so fascinated when Jessie posts about it, or when we've talked about it, like in our little like get-togethers and stuff. It seems really cool.
I think just because it's so pictorial, and depending on what your question is, the picture means different things based on, just what you're asking. And I don't read for others with Lenormand. I only read for myself. I mean, I will say like a friend or whatever, but I don't, charge for Lenormand readings. And for that reason, because I feel like there's so much to learn that I really just stick to myself. But it's actually quite fun to just do a grand tableau, snap a picture, and kind of see where it goes. So who knows? Don't be scared of it. Get a deck, just practice and play with it. Play.
Maybe I'll get you to give me a reading.
Ooh. And that takes us back to the whole, yes, you always need another deck. Now you need Lenormand decks.
Right.
Yeah. Well, we actually wanted to talk a little bit about your podcast as well, and then getting into your books. So I know that Jazz actually had a couple of questions about this. Jazz, do you want to start this one off?
Yeah. So first of all, The Winding Path is one of my fave podcasts ever. It's such a valuable resource. Honestly, I get so much out of it, and I wish I had found it sooner. I really only stumbled across it, I guess, a couple of months ago, and I've just been devouring it ever since. So listeners, if you haven't checked it out, definitely go and do that. We'll have it in the show notes for you. But what prompted you to even start the podcast, and what's kind of your overall goal with it?
Well, as for most things that I do, I'm trying to give what I never had. So the podcasting is really the best way for me. Maybe not the best way, maybe the easiest way to be able to give information in a whole, without like people having to read. Like it's just so accessible if you're a commuter, or if you're driving, or if you are running or whatever. It really is like, it's such an awesome way to be able to spread information. So that was kind of like the whole start. That was kind of the reason that I started. That's why I do anything really, is just trying to be able to give to people what I didn't have. And it's so much easier now in this day and age of technology.
Yeah.
Like when I found the craft in 2005 and I didn't have a job, there wasn't really a whole lot of places to learn things, because the internet wasn't that great yet.
Yeah.
And there's so many young witches that will message me over Instagram that are like, I can't buy a book because my parents will kick me out or whatever, right? So it was the easiest way for me to try and give to them without like risking anyone's life, I guess.
Yeah. Wow. That's awesome.
That's
I'm glad you like it.
That's such a beautiful reason.
It really is. Yeah. It's like, I just always want to have conversations. That's why I start podcasts, but yours is like so beautiful and well thought out.
I just really like talking. But I actually hate, I'm not very good with talking. I find myself to be very awkward. So it took me a really long time to actually listen to my own episode. And my sister was like, I listened to your podcast. I'm like, why'd you tell me that? I don't want to know.
I can hear I hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it took me a while to get used to listening back to my own voice, but I just feel like once you edit a bunch, it just becomes like, oh yeah, that's just your voice now. Okay. Oh well, like
Yeah.
Well, talking about your podcast, you had a recent episode on Lunar Rituals. And I have to say, it was a fantastic refresher, especially the way you kind of run through all the different moon phases and just give that quick little lowdown. Now, I was wondering, do you hold fast to moon magic, and like, do you hold a ritual for every single phase, or do you do it more unstructured and save it just for when you're really feeling it and when you really need something done?
I would say that it's more unstructured. I definitely held myself to this high standard of practice in the early phases of my craft, and I kind of fell out of it for a bit because I was like, I have to practice every full moon and every new moon and every ritual, and it was kind of becoming more of a chore than a connection thing. So
yeah,
I've really, being on mat leave actually, and kind of being more in tune to what's happening around me rather than, I have to get up and go to work and go to a job and then come home and sleep and get up and go to work, go to a job or whatever. It's helped me kind of move more with the moons. And there's, I wouldn't say that I hold a ritual every new moon or every full moon, but I do have I have a candle that I will light, that I only light on specific phases, and it's just kind of my way of like connecting and centering. And sometimes if I feel the need, I'll do a spell, or I'll do a small ritual, or I'll have my bath, or whatever the case may be. But it's not every time. I wouldn't say that I'm strict like that.
Yeah, well, that's good. I love the idea of using specific candles for specific times. I mean, it's so simple, but it's so powerful at the same time. And I think that's just what magic is. It's just finding the magic in those small, little, simple tasks. So, yeah, I love it.
And I don't know if it's just me, but these moon phases are coming at us so fast. And especially if you do have families, kids, it's like it's hard to keep up. So yes, I'm glad that you've relaxed, and and I guess it's one of those things too, as life changes and there's phases, it can come back into being more of a structured thing. But yeah, we've got to give ourselves grace, especially when life gets complicated, and take the rest that we need.
Yeah, absolutely.
Important lessons learned from the moon.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Does anybody else have more questions about the podcast?
Yeah, Jekanovi, I see that your next note says that it's just a time filler if needed, but I really like this question. So
okay.
I'm just going to dive in with it. But there was also another recent episode was on working or not with deities. And it was honestly such important information for like people who do feel obligated to worship or like work with a deity, but you know, you're not really vibing with it and you're wondering if that makes you a bad witch or whatever. But I just like, can you talk a little bit more about the process of just finding out what's right for you in your practice?
It's kind of hard because like I don't really think there is a process. I guess the process would be just maybe like being open, being aware.
Okay.
Probably my best example is that I have a friend in the States, and he was talking about like working with deities and things like that. He's like, you know, all of a sudden I started seeing like deer everywhere.
Right. Yes,
like,
I love this story. Yeah.
And that he looked it up, and I think it was Artemis, if I'm not.
Yeah.
If I'm right, I think it's Artemis. That's the goddess of the hunt. And he was like, everything that she stands for is like speaks to me in some way, shape, or form. And he was like, you know, like that's who he took on, or that's who like came to him for the time. And I think it's kind of listening to your intuition. And I think that it's just as easy to go in and out of a relationship with a deity respectfully as it is to go in and out of friendships or out of relationships. Like I don't feel guilt or regret for working with the Norse pantheon for 3 years of my practice. And I don't feel bad that like we've kind of split ways. Like I don't feel like they're going to come after me or anything like that.
Yeah. I think that's actually a very valid fear for some people, is that they just think that, I started worshiping this god, so if I stop worshiping them, you're going to get mad and punish me. And it's like, no, that's just not how it works. I mean, you know, I wouldn't go calling them names or anything, but,
right.
but, you know, say, thanks for hanging out. Bye.
Yeah, there are so many people in the world, and a good portion of them, I think, worship or pray or talk to some deity somewhere.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're not going to be concerned if one person is like, well, I don't think this is really for me, especially if you're kind of like half-assing it at the end. They're going to be like, yeah, this is not, I'm done with this.
Yeah.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah. They probably want your full attention, or at least better attention than just half-assing it, right? So
Yeah.
Well, no, I mean, it was a bit of a selfish reason to jump into that question, because I've been curious about it myself. I mean, I've been kind of drawn to certain things, but then every time I look something up, there's something that just doesn't resonate. So I haven't made any decisions yet. So I guess I'm just trying to follow whatever that is, you know, intuition and stuff like that. But
well, I think that working with deities, like, nobody's perfect, and neither is a deity, right? Like your partner, there's always going to be some flaw, whether it's they leave the dishes out or they snore or whatever. So as long as it's not something that's like a real buzzkill. And there's also, you can kind of like, you can set up a space for a deity that you respect and not have to work with them.
Ooh, I like that.
You can just be like, I really respect like this deity, and I just want them to know that, but I'm not going to ask them for anything. I'm not going to like ask them to help with any of my magic or anything like that. It's just going to be like, yeah, like, you're cool. I'm going to put your picture up in a candle. It's incense. And like, if you ever want to rest here, you can rest here, and I'm fine with that.
Oh, I love that.
And,
yeah.
And you could do that for so many, like you like have a little deity hotel. Like, you don't have to work. You don't have to work with them all the time, right? So
I love that. That felt super fancy. I'm super into that.
Yeah,
actually.
It kind of sounds like an awesome band name too. When you're
great band name. Oh my goodness.
You nailed it, Danielle. Oh yeah.
I like that. And that seems like a nice way to kind of get your foot in the door too, with just figuring out how you would even go about that kind of stuff, and just like, I don't know. Yeah. Testing the waters. Right. So.
Yeah. And if one of them is really enjoying your company, like maybe you get some kind of sign.
Right.
Like the symbol in your dream where you see their animal around, like my friend saw the deer, like who knows.
Cool.
So good. Okay, well, I want to talk about your Witchy Awards that you've won. And so first of all, congratulations to Witchy Awards for 2020. I'm very proud of you. I was so happy.
Thank you. That's so crazy.
The first one was, of course, for Outstanding Self-Published Book of the Year for your Witch's Book of Shadows, which we're going to chat about more in a few minutes. So I'm just going to skip over that one for now. And the other Witchy Award was for the Outstanding Collaboration of the Year, which was a blog post. It's called Gatekeeping in the Witchcraft Community. And it was a collaboration with Robin. And on Instagram, she's also a tired witch. I'm going to give the link, or we're going to give the link in the show notes afterwards, because this is it's for beginners and experienced practitioners. This is an amazing article. But I have just a couple little questions about that. So what are some of the most common gatekeeping situations that you've observed? It might help out like listeners that may be facing it and not being able to put their finger on exactly what it is they're experiencing.
Probably I think the most common one is probably like the passive aggressive, like, I thought Scorpio season started on the 21st.
Oh,
like that kind of, oh God. It's just stuff like that. Or like, I thought you only use this herb for this. And like, it's just, that's probably like the most, it's such an under the wire, passive aggressive form of gatekeeping. And it's just enough that people start to question themselves. Like it's just enough. So there's that. And then there's just the straight up, like the comments in some of the things like, you can't use that because it's not meant for that. Or like, I know that, Robin posted something about using fresh water, as an offering for a deity. And they were like, you can't use fresh water for a deity. Are you insane? And it's like, what? I'm not. Like, and it's there's just so many, but I would say there's the passive aggressive, and then there's just the blatant outright, like, you can't do that because XYZ.
Because I said so.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Excellent. I'm really glad you gave those examples, because it just kind of it just illustrates what it looks like in practice, so people know what to watch for in those red flags.
Yeah.
And so, unless you're going to be hurting yourself, like unless someone says like you really shouldn't be eating that because it's going to kill you, that's
but then that seems like advice. That's coming from I think a more genuine place.
You'd hope anyway.
So, I mean, you kind of answered this. So I was going to ask you, like, what advice do you have for other witchy folks, especially newbies, who for dealing with or to avoid being with a gatekeeper, or being, a gatekeeper?
I would say that listen to yourself and how you're about to respond. Like, if you're immediately angry and your like blood pressure is rising, and you stop and you think like, okay, why am I getting upset? Am I getting upset because this person is doing it in a way that I wouldn't do it? Or am I getting upset because like I know for a fact that this is cultural appropriation, or that herb is going to make them sick, or like you probably shouldn't pour hot wax on yourself, like it's really you have to shut your ego up and just be like, if this is how someone practices and it's not hurting anybody and it's not like causing someone else harm by suggesting this specific practice to them, just walk away.
Right.
Yeah. Love it. Simple, but very effective advice.
Well, and what about people that are dealing with like gatekeepers, and like, how do you, I mean, if you're kind of a more shy or reserved person, or it is like making you question yourself, like, I don't know, what do you do in that situation?
Well, honestly, I usually delete the really shitty comments.
Yeah.
And if they just don't stop, or they like start messaging, I just block them, because when at the end of the day, like this person, and my sister quoted this perfectly. I don't know, someone else told her this, I think. Her aunt-in-law, hurt people.
Mm-hmm.
So if someone else has been gatekept they're more likely to do it to someone else, right? The same thing, like if you were bullied, you're probably going to bully someone else,
right?
In some way. So if you're dealing with a gatekeeper and you're like, well, you can't tell like what I'm doing isn't hurting anybody. Like it's how I practice that their response is always going to be, well, it's wrong. If that's their argument, then they're just being a gatekeeper. Just delete them, just block them, just move on, because you're not going to be able to change their mind at the end of the day. Yeah.
And don't feel bad about blocking anyone.
Yeah.
You have our permission.
First and foremost, protect your energy.
Yes.
You've got to preserve yourself. So
yeah. And honestly, blocking feels pretty good sometimes. Like if you haven't tried it out, I would try it out.
It's like the new age of banishing spells. It's wonderful. Try it. It's great.
Ooh.
And it's instant and it works every time.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So I was watching Buffy last night. One of my very good friends has never seen it. So we're kind of like watching it as a group for the first time. And there's a character that calls herself a techno-pagan. And I was like, I need to know more about the techno-pagan. I need to this is my new favorite character. How did I not remember any of this from like my 17 other watches of Buffy? But now I'm just thinking like she is probably all about blocking.
Yep, I would say so.
That's awesome. You're totally the techno witch.
Ooh,
jazz.
Yeah. Love it. Thank you.
Okay, so let's move along. I would love to ask Danielle about her books. So the first one, of course, is The Witch's Book of Shadows, which I own, I love, I use, love it. Amazing. So when you were creating this book, who did you have in mind for it? Who is it for?
The baby, which is
the baby,
definitely
the
babies. The new and confused maybe would be because you could be confused and not new.
Sure.
Yeah, it's the people. I would say like mainly the baby, which is that they jumped in and they literally have no idea where to start.
That was me. And that's why, I love it. I keep it at my desk and what I love, it's, you can just continue to, I just fill things in as they come to me or as something resonates. And, I've always had a journal, but I do love the very strategic, there's just, it's a compilation with purpose, and you can see why, like over the years, just what a beautiful gift that is to not only yourself, but something to pass along and just your lessons.
Well, can we rewind for a second and just talk about, like, for anybody that might not know, what is a Book of Shadows?
So your Book of Shadows is where you put all of your work. So like your spells and your rituals or your potions or whatever. And then your grimoire is kind of like your encyclopedia. So I put the two together so that it was convenient, essentially.
Yeah.
It was all for convenience. Mine is together. Like my big one, I start from the back page and work my way in for my grimoire, and I start from the front page and work my way in for my Book of Shadows. Because again, if I had 2 books, I'd lose one. So
that's a great tip.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay, so this is more of a question, I suppose, for the newbies, who the book is for. How do you use a Book of Shadows? How do you use your Book of Shadows?
So you kind of use both the grimoire in the back and like the Book of Shadows in the front. So if you wanted to create a spell for like protection, you flip to the back of the book and you find protection in herbs, you find protection in crystals. You can go through like the different moon phases and find which ones are good for protection. And you kind of write all this information down in one of the spell pages or one of the ritual pages. And it kind of already gives you like a base recipe for what you want to do and when you want to do it. Not that you have to do it during a specific moon phase, but it's just everything is, when you put all these things together, it just kind of amplifies the magic that you're already going to be using. And then there's the space there for, if you want to write down your spell, like what you want to say. You want to write down, like if you want to write down a rhyme, and then it has everything for after you're while you're doing the spell, you know, how much of each did you use? Afterwards, like, did you have any specific feelings? Like, how did you feel during the spell? How did you feel afterwards? And then, you know, you can always go back and be like, okay, haven't been as sick, or I haven't been as klutzy, or I haven't been like whatever. You can go back and kind of see how it worked, if it worked, you know, because not everything works. And then you can be like, okay, this didn't work. Maybe I'll change out this crystal or this herb, or I'll do it during this day, so this day, or whichever. Probably a best explanation.
Yeah,
so good.
awesome.
It's such a simple process, but I mean, it can be really overwhelming if you don't have the guidance.
Yeah, for sure.
Pretty much everything at the beginning of my path was very overwhelming, which I think I went through like 14 journals before I was like, you know what? I need to make something. I need to get.
Yeah. Well, and it seems like, again, you have that focus of making it easier for those who are coming after you, which is awesome.
Yeah, because there's no guarantee that my kids are going to be witches. My husband thinks they will, but, you know, there's no guarantee.
Interesting.
I might as well give it to somebody.
Yeah, of course.
I love that it just puts the intention into practice. It's really the tool to help get whatever's kind of going on in thoughts and what you're needing, and then putting it out there and actually doing it, which of course is where the magic is, because you know, quantumly, on the quantum level, everything is energy, and it's all driven off our intent. And so it helps to kind of focus what you're needing or what you're desiring, or what just is kind of meant for you in that moment. It's just a beautiful tool to help center your intention.
And I feel like if you're perusing through so many different websites to like find the correspondences that you want to use for whatever you want to do, it's so easy to get distracted, and then it's not really, you're not as focused. Yeah, I'm just going to go onto the internet on my phone and look this up, and it's just like your thumb just hovers to Instagram or TikTok or something else, and suddenly an hour's gone by, and you're like, what was I doing?
Yeah.
That's pretty much the story of my day-to-day existence.
Oh my God, same. I was so distracted today. What was happening in the sky? Oh my goodness.
Yes, something. That's funny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you haven't seen it, you know, for our listeners, if you haven't actually seen and interacted with the Witch's Book of Shadows, it's really cleverly set up. It kind of guides you in how to use it, but it doesn't tell you what to put in it. There are pre-filled sections that Danielle has actually filled in her own rituals and herbs and her own wisdom, but it's something that you need to create. But it's not. It doesn't leave you not knowing what to do. And it's such a beautiful balance of that structure, but still that flow. And I mean, just well done. I love it.
Yeah, I feel
I'm glad you like it. I'm glad you both like it.
Yeah, that sounds really amazing. I really like that. It's so empowering, it seems like, because you are doing some of the work yourself, but you're not totally like in the dark.
Yeah. And I mean, for beginners, it's really great because it's that solid starting place with the basic information that you can build on. And for experienced practitioners like myself, I mean, I have this brand new book. It's all compiled into one place. It saves me the time of having to put in all the basic stuff that, you know, it's for me, I already know it, but it's right there. It's already done for me, and I can just move on. So it's perfect.
Yay.
So now, do you guys have any other questions about A Witch's Book of Shadows?
Well, Jekanovi, I see you've got something here about the way it has the Wheel of the Year, which I'm super interested in.
Yeah, well, it's set up. I don't want to say it's a planner because it's not, but the way the Wheel of the Year section is set up, it's kind of a planner. It tells you what it doesn't tell you. It gives you places to put down different herbs and associations and different celebrations. And I like that you have to do the work yourself to learn about it and see what that day means to you. But it's there and it's structured in a way that kind of helps you plan for it. So it's really interesting. Yeah. Is that a format that you were already using when you were before you wrote the book? Is that how your Book of Shadows was already set up, or?
Well, I mean, it's specific for like where I am. So I didn't want to set up anything like just for the Northern Hemisphere, because I've run into a lot of people on Instagram that are like, oh, like, thank you for including the Southern Hemisphere. Like, I guess all the witches down there don't do a whole lot. I don't know.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know what's happening, but everybody's like, oh, like, thanks for including the Southern Hemisphere, and like, thanks for giving us correspondences for everything else. I guess a lot of the witches live in the Northern Hemisphere. Like, there isn't the whole lot that live in the South. I don't know, but I didn't want to make something that couldn't be used by everybody. So
I so easily forget that there's, we're not all in the same time cycle.
It's something that really intrigues me. I think it was on our Samhain episode that I was like, Southern Hemisphere witches, get at me. Like, what do you guys do? Right? Like, I mean, I know it's not Samhain, I know it's Beltane, but like, are you doing Halloween? What are you up to? I'm so intrigued by this, but I would love to hear more if we have any listeners down there. But I do think it's great that you left it open to just be, not for a specific hemisphere. It's just so much smarter that way. It's open to everyone, more inclusive.
Yeah, I definitely didn't want anybody to feel left out. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Beautiful.
I mean, maybe before we talk about the newer book, the collaborative one, can we talk a little bit about maybe just Danielle's process writing the book, or writing books in general, or writing in general?
Yes, tell us your secrets.
Like, I mean, how do you even this sounds like it was, I mean, just this, the Book of Shadows alone, it sounds like it's such an undertaking. Like, how do you get going? Where do you find that motivation? Like, I don't know. Just tell us about it.
Well, the first plans I had for the Book of Shadows wasn't even actually a book. It was just going to be downloadable pages.
Okay.
And I had written them out on ink printer paper. My basic plan for what I wanted them to look like. Doodled them out, and I think I was still pregnant. It was sometime last year, like last summer, when I was doodling all of this out. And then they not gonna lie, they sat at the desk for like 6 months. And then I came across them and I was like, maybe I should actually like do something with this. And then I went in to I use Publisher for a lot of my stuff. And I started just doodling and ticking around with the program, for lack of better words, and kind of figured out, okay, like, what do I want to go here? Like, what do I want to go here? And it was kind of I put it together, and then I print out one page on a regular size piece of paper, and I'm like, no, there really isn't enough space there. And then I'd move some lines around or move some boxes around. And I'm like, do I really need this information? And it's just kind of a lot of like printing. I mean, okay, I'm going to change this, and this, and then go back to the computer and change it, and then print it out and go, yeah, I think I like that. And then going back in and changing something, and go, I really like that much better. And then for the book, for that book specifically, but I guess I have several notes in my phone for the different books that I either have out or about to be out, or the things I want to make.
Wow.
that are organized into different sections. Like when I first organized the Witch's Book of Shadows, it was like, okay, like, what do I want to include in spells? And I had 7 to 10 different points. And I was like, what do I want to include in rituals? And I had those points. And like, same thing with the tarot book. It was like, okay, like, what do I want in the beginning? And like, here's the breakdown of the pages before everything else. And there will hopefully be another book next year. And I have the same thing. It's like broken down into sections about what I want into each thing. It's a lot of lists. I do lists. The short answer to that is I do lists.
Yeah, that makes sense.
It's such a simplified way of doing something that is hugely complex. And what's that? Capricorn. That's got to be your Capricorn. It's got to be.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah.
Wow. I just love the creative, like, you just kind of went with it. You didn't put rules on it. You didn't put expectations on it. You just went with the creative flow. And then, I mean, look at this amazing work that comes out of it. That's blows my mind.
I cannot put expectations on. I have learned, I guess I should say, not to put these huge expectations on myself, because if I don't meet them, I breakdown. It's not a good scene.
Oh.
I think that's such great advice for, I mean,
Yes.
I don't know, 99.9% of people. Like, stop putting such big expectations on yourself. And I mean, then, yeah, I don't know. I think we could all learn something from that piece of advice for sure.
Yeah, that's all a part of, like you were saying earlier, that's getting, you know yourself, you know what you need, and you just go with it. You use it to your advantage.
Yeah, that honesty.
Yeah, that I'm 99.9% of the time a hot mess.
Oh, me too. Me too.
We all
I'm right there
are.
with you. We're all one big pile of hot mess together.
I feel like
Yay.
if you're not a hot mess, what's wrong with you? You
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
like,
Either
What are
you're
you
full
on?
of shit or
Yes.
you're in denial. Pick one.
yes, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, so good.
Well, is that kind of one of Jekanovia's other questions here that I really like is like, what did you learn about yourself as you were writing this book? Was that something that you did learn as you were writing, or is that something you kind of knew before? And are there other things you kind of figured out about yourself along the way?
Well, I had known before that if I have this super strict plan for anything and I don't meet it, that I kind of go a little crazy. Like, I didn't read any pregnancy books when I was pregnant because if anything was
Right.
different, I would have been like, oh God, what's happening? So what I did learn was I was like, oh my God, I really wish I had this like 15 years ago.
Yeah.
That was really like, that was the main thing. And then it was like, oh, there are things that I'm including in this book that I haven't even included in my own book of shadows that I want to put in there. I don't know if I guess probably the thing that I would have learned about myself personally through the whole thing was that like, hey, you actually make things that people like. And it's it's a confidence boost, I guess, because there's I'm sure that like other artists of varying degrees, like digital art or singing or whatever, are kind of like, oh, like I like this, but are other people gonna like this?
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's very strange to see so many people like this thing that came from my brain. I don't know.
your
I guess
brainchild.
I learned that I'm not. I don't know what I want to say there. You can cut that out.
No, I totally get
That
what
was
you're
really-
saying.
Yeah. Me too. I think that really touches on, I know we did a whole episode talking about imposter syndrome. And I mean, that kind of borderlines that. It's like, oh my God, people
Yes.
actually like this. I'm valid.
Yeah, that was when I sent one of the books to Stephen Aiden, who does A Witch's Path, and he's a hereditary witch, so I was like really nervous about sending it to him.
Yeah.
And he like loved it, and I was like, oh my God, like you actually really like it. And I was like, I can't believe that somebody likes this thing that I made. And he's like, now's not the time for imposter syndrome. And I was like, I don't even know what that means. But he explained it. And I was like, yes, that's exactly how I feel. So.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm very happy that you overcame. Just going to let you know.
Yeah, totally.
Thanks.
Yeah. So, well, I suppose we could maybe start talking about your next book,
Yeah.
Sure.
the one that's coming out, or is it not out yet?
Yes.
I'm not sure when this airs, if it'll be out yet or not. So,
Well, right now, like I just put it up for pre-sale on the website, so it might be out on Amazon by the time this comes out.
All right. Well, yeah. Let us know, and we'll figure it out.
yeah, we'll just
Yeah.
add a link maybe in the show notes, even just to the pre-sale.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent.
Cool.
Well, this a magical new book that I keep referring to, and I'm so excited to talk about, is a collaborative new book, and I believe it's with two other people, right?
Yes, so that the same artist that helped me with the Witch's Book of Shadows, Mara over at Gemini Consort. She's probably going to be my go-to artist because I love her vibe and
She's
her,
amazing.
I love her stuff. And then Anthony Parada of AP Astrology did all of my astrological forecasting and mantras for the book.
So good, so good. So the title of this book is 2021 Year of Tarot. Connect with your deck through a year of exercises and spreads. I noticed the cover art dropped at the end of November, and it looks really, really juicy. So yeah, tell us more about this book.
So there are so many questions like when I post tarot spreads, and it's, like, how do I work with reverse cards? How do I, like, what does this card need? How do I get more practice? And I was like, you can just tell people, well, pull a card a day, but it's really not that simple, because people will look at their deck and go, well, what do I do? Like, what do I ask? So I was trying to give a more structured approach to learning without having it be too strict, like kind of like the Witch's Book of Shadows. So it's set up like a planner. So you have like the month, like you have like a month spread, or like the calendar month, and then you have spaces for each day, and there's like a week per 2 pages. And then every month there's a specific full moon spread and new moon spread that I have created to go along with whatever zodiac sign it's in. As well as that's where the moon mantras come in from Anthony. He made sayings for each full moon in whatever zodiac it is. And then at the beginning of the book, I kind of go through the universal suggestions that people will give all over the internet. So, like, should you buy your deck or should you gift your deck? Yada yada yada. Like, connecting with your deck. Do you have to? You don't really have to, but if you want to, here's some things that you could do, and like, here's a whole list of questions you can ask yourself at the beginning of the day or the end of the day if you want to pull one card. Here's a list of 2 card spreads. Here's a list of 3 card spreads, and then like the same information that's in the back of the Witch's Book of Shadows for the tarot cards and the zodiacs is also included in the tarot book, because there's no guarantee that someone that buys this book is going to have the other one.
Right. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing.
Right? It's like a one-stop shop.
Yeah. That's super exciting. I'm so curious to know what it was like moving from, I mean, I know you had an artist for your first book, but it was mostly just you, I assume, working behind the scenes. What was it like to be working with 2 other people to bring this to life?
Well, I mean, it was pretty easy. That this was kind of like a I buy their service sort of thing.
Okay.
So like I paid Anthony to get me, like, he went through, it took him 4 to 6 weeks to go through all of 2021 and give me it was pretty easy to be like, okay, the full moon's going to be in this, but then he came up with all the mantras himself. He gave me a whole bunch of other astrological information that I can include, like what is conjunct what and things like that. Right. And then same thing with Mara. It's like pay her for her artwork. So I just said, like, I'd like specific zodiac designs. Like, I don't want to just go on Google and buy something.
Yeah.
From someone else. Like, I'd rather support you. And then she gave me like little corner decals, and like she did the front. She did the like the 3 tarot cards that are the main decal on the front cover of the book.
Yeah.
But like all the background, I did myself. Like, I'm not awful at Photoshop. I just am not great at Photoshop.
Well, that's a fast way to learn.
Leave it to the professionals, right? Save the time and help them with their income.
Yes, very true.
I love that. Yeah, just supporting artists.
Yeah, my skills are very, very minimal. I can do, well, I figured out how to cut and paste certain things, and I put my sister's head on a planet. And that's pretty much the extent of my knowledge.
I think that's great. Yeah. I think your learning is done. That feels like, you've reached a certain peak.
I mean, you're never going to top that. So
no, I won't. I think she made it her like cover photo on Facebook or something.
Aww.
It's so funny. Anyway.
Yeah, well, this book sounds incredible. Is it just oh my gosh, what am I trying to say? Is it like a digital copy or just like an actual physical copy? That's the word, physical copy.
It'll probably also be like a digital copy, like it'll probably go through as like an ebook.
Yeah.
For a digital copy. So if someone just wanted to have it just to do the spreads to everything, and not write in it every day. And then there should be, my plan is to have the soft cover and the hard cover like last time, but there's a lot of color in this one. So it'll be color instead of black and white.
Ooh.
Very cool.
And you know what? Okay, this is so petty, and I know, but because you use the same artist, the style is going to be so similar. They're going to look so good side by side on the shelf.
Oh my God, that's not petty. Teasing. I love that.
I did use different font though, so that might irk you a little bit.
No, that's okay. It's I like a little bit of change. It's the overall theme that matters. Yeah, I'm really excited about this book, and yeah, I hope you have so much abundance from it.
Yeah. And I mean, even if you're just doing the pre-sale, once this goes up, we should definitely link to it, because I assume that pre-sales really help like with future projects. I mean, with this current project, but I assume it helps with future ones too. So.
Yeah. And I'm hoping like part of the pre-sale, like it's not just going to be like, it's a signed copy of the book, but it's also, I'm getting the mantras for each full moon. Like I'm getting them made into kind of like a tarot deck. So like tarot-sized cards to go along with the book. So the pre-sale package is like the book and the cards, and then it's going to be a rollerball set for the full moon and new moon oils.
What?
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody just perked up.
Sign
that
me.
is an awesome pre-sale.
Yeah, if everyone's not like, just take my money at this point, I'm confused.
Are you even alive? Like, oh, so good.
I'm still waiting on the cards to get here, but I'm like, they're like, yeah, the artists will have them printed, and I was like, print them, give them to me now. I want to have them.
That's so exciting. So
that is an incredible accomplishment.
Yeah,
I
totally.
mean, amazing job, Danielle. I'm really proud of you, and I know you're proud of yourself. But I mean, that's beautiful work being done. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So do we get to see sneak previews on your Instagram of these cards when they arrive?
There is a sneak preview. Yes, I'll be doing like an unboxing or whatever, but there's a sneak preview of some of the cards on my website, like under the pre-sale for it. So there's like it's like a screenshot, and it looks like 8 cards, but it's only 4 fronts, and then there's 4 backs. The backs are all the same, but whatever. So there is like a little bit of a sneak peek on what the cards look like. And fun fact, Jessie, is that I watercolored all of the backgrounds.
Ooh,
awesome! I can't. Oh, yay!
I painted all of the backgrounds and scanned them in, and then typed on them.
Oh, so good.
Oh, that sounds like so much work, but so worth it, honestly.
All right, I'm inspired too.
Yeah.
Like, the creative
it was a lot of work, but they also doubled as they're now color flashcards for my kids. So
so cute.
Dual purpose.
yeah. She's every time I would be done with them, I'd give her one, and she'd be like, "Ooh," and then she just takes them. So I just wrote all the colors, and now they're hers.
Aww, I love that.
Aww. She's part of it.
Yes.
Oh yes, she's obsessed with my tarot cards. So.
Well, that's a good mama right there. I'll tell ya. Start them young.
My husband's like, "Oh, you're gonna love me until you're old enough to ask for money." And I was like, "Makes you feel any better? She just come back Christmas and tarot cards. Like, she's not gonna be like out drinking with her friends. She's gonna be in the basement, like reading people's futures or something."
It's an investment in her future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, do you want to wrap up with these like few random questions that we had?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had 3 randoms. Maybe we could each ask one?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. I'll start. So Danielle, what is one thing that you wish people knew about you, or a misconception that people may have about you?
I'm not as mean as I look.
You don't look mean.
I have the worst. In real life, I have the worst resting bitch face.
Listen, that is the Scorpio rising resting bitch face, okay? I am super familiar with it. It really sells us short, and I feel you. My heart is with you.
I feel like that's like I guess that's my main one. I have a lot of tattoos.
Oh, wouldn't have known that. Yeah.
I think I have 9 right now.
Oh.
Are they all kind of in spots where you wouldn't normally see them? Or are they just small?
No, they're not.
What are you asking?
Well, because I'm like trying to think of
maybe it's a little personal.
No, most of them are in places that people can see. Like I have one, two, three. Five are on my arms. I do have all of my thigh done, so you can't see that unless I'm in shorts.
Right.
And I have my rib cage done, so I can't see that unless I'm like in a bathing suit or something. But other than that, it's like my ankle, the back of my neck, and my foot. So they're all in places that like you can see, but people just don't look at it.
Yeah. Well, listen, I wasn't trying to get super saucy with you. I just
I mean, that's okay. If we were still on Skype, I would have shown you, but we're not. So.
Darn. I was just trying to think of like photos that I've seen of you on your Instagram and couldn't recall at all if I had like clocked any tattoos or anything. So.
Oh yeah, I think there's only like one or two where you can see the arrow tattoo on my arm.
Okay.
Or possibly the cat prints on my arm.
That sounds cute.
Yeah. I don't think I've ever posted anything that's really like, not my face.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, fair enough.
Keeping it a mystery.
Mm-hmm. Well, before I go to the next question, I want to say I was taking a peek at the pre-sale site, and those cards, just go back for a minute, are absolutely gorgeous. So
thank you.
It's beautiful, beautiful art. Yes. So, okay, Danielle, if you could go back in time and mentor yourself when you were just starting on the path, what advice would you give yourself?
Oh, don't initiate into Wicca.
Interesting.
Probably be my right away. Maybe I should do right away. Because I like found it and was like, yep, I'm doing this. I'm doing it now. Like I didn't do the year and a day. I just like literally jumped right in.
Right.
I would have said like there's more out there.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the only path, and everything in this book is not rule.
Oh, great advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
That is good advice.
So it was just like a lot all at once, and it kind of didn't give you the time to explore a little bit further?
I think it just gave me tunnel vision.
Oh, okay.
You know, it was just kind of like, I was like, okay, yeah, like I'm Wiccan. I do this, like I have a god and a goddess, and it was just kind of like, this is what I do. And there was nothing, I didn't even know that there was anything outside of that. Like I didn't know you could practice witchcraft without being Wiccan. Like I didn't know, like I know that the book told me that, but there was no explanation of it. And like I didn't have any money to go buy any other books, and every time I went to a chapters, it was like I just went to the New Age section, and I usually just went right to Wicca, and I just picked up a new Wiccan book, and there was nothing. I didn't have any. I had blinders on.
Yeah.
So
that's so interesting.
Well, I guess in that, maybe if I could just do a little follow up then, as you expanded on that more, when did you realize that there was more, and what did you do? What was kind of the next step for you?
I don't think there was any it's not like there was like a click, and I couldn't really tell you obviously I couldn't tell you a date. I don't even know what date is most of the time in the present, but somewhere around like the 9 to 10 year mark practicing, I was like, I'm not really vibing with this title, with this religious practice. And I just kind of like, I don't even think I started. I don't think that I even understood that there was other pathways out there. I just kind of phased myself out, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm just going to practice like witchcraft and kind of separate myself from this religious background, so to speak. And as I did that and started to kind of open up, and like my Instagram platform like really helped kind of connect me with people that followed different paths, that it kind of opened it up. So I would say like in the last 6 to 7 years, I've just kind of slowly phased out and been like, yeah, like I'm not Wiccan, like I just practice witchcraft, and you know, like I don't correct everybody because sometimes it's just easier. Like my in-laws think it's absolutely hilarious that their kid married a witch. So they tell anybody that will listen that I'm Wiccan, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm not even gonna correct you. You can correct you. You can just keep doing it. That's fine.
Just let them go.
Yeah.
Wow. And I like that you were public about that shift too. So you're empowering other people who were kind of feeling that same way. So leading by example once again.
Trying.
Well, for our final question, I kind of think that, your previous answer would probably, or, fall somewhere into this, but like, what are your top 3 or top 2, or maybe just like your top piece of advice for folks that are starting out on their path in witchcraft?
I feel like this whole episode could answer that question. I think my top advice would probably be to not give yourself that like expectation or restriction. Like don't try and give yourself a title so fast. Like you don't have to be like, yes, I'm a witch and I'm an herb witch or I'm a crystal witch. Like just take it slow. Like there's so much information out there and it's ever changing, which means even the most elder of elders will still be learning. Like, this is not something that you just fall into and you're a master in it. You could read every book on witchcraft in a year and you still won't know everything.
Wow. I wish somebody would have told me that, actually.
Really, right?
Out.
Yeah. And the first couple spells that you do are probably not going to go well. Whether they don't work or whether you knock over a candle or you knock over a thing of herbs, they're not going to be perfect, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Shit happens.
Yeah. Lots of time to learn.
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you for that advice.
Yes. I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people who are listening. Well, I mean, I think that about wraps us up for the night. So, Danielle, where can people follow you and find your podcast?
The podcast is pretty much anywhere that you would listen to a podcast. So Anchor FM is its homepage, and then there's SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Google Play under The Winding Path. And then Instagram and Twitter are both under the same handle of A Witch Alone. And then the shop is awitchaloneshop.com.
And of course, we'll add those links in the show notes as well. So is there anything else besides the book to look forward to? Any other projects you've got on the go?
I do have the next book that as soon as I am done the tarot, putting the final touches on the tarot book, I will be starting the Beginner's Guide to Witchcraft that I wish I had. So
yes, that will be so exciting.
That'll be the next project. Everything that I wish I knew and everything that people should probably know for the 21st century. Social media.
Yes. That's one to look forward to for sure.
So you'll be done that one in 15 years? It's not a huge undertaking or anything.
Yeah, that's not a 3,000 page piece of art.
It's going to be a Bible.
I'm going to try and keep it condensed.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Good luck.
I would love to get it out by next summer, so we'll see.
Ooh, wow. So exciting.
Just in time for my birthday. Yes.
Woohoo.
Danielle, thank you so much for being here and joining us. This was such a blast. It was such an honor to get to talk to you.
Thank you for having me. This was a lot of fun.
Oh,
yes, Danielle. I've learned a lot.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right. Well, that's it from us. Thanks, everyone, for listening. We will see you in 2021. Have a happy holiday season. Look out for our Yule bonus episode, and we'll see you soon.
Bye.
Many blessings. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Tarot Coven Cast. Stay tuned for our next episode coming to you in 2021, when we'll be continuing our journey through the suits of the tarot. And until then, everyone, keep making magic.